into a practical session on Tableau. So I'm a postdoctoral researcher with the Data Science Institute. My main area of research is around how people actually understand and make sense of data that's being presented to them online in visualizations particularly. I work mainly in the area of healthcare, so I work part-time with the HSE and part-time with GP network to actually help them visualize and understand the data. So that's kind of what I am, but what I do in a nutshell. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do, as I was saying, a very brief introduction to data visualization. What is it? What are good principles? An introduction to Tableau, and then I'm going to go into a practical session. For me, data visualization is really a kind of a narrative that provides an answer to the question. And I have an echo here. Let me turn this off now. So why is that important? I mean, there's lots of definitions of data visualizations out there, but I'm particularly like that one because it's really simple. You have a question, you need an answer, and you can use visualization to answer that question. There's a number of key considerations. First of all, what is actually your goal? What do you want to achieve? What message do you want to get across? Secondly, the data. What data do you need and what data do you want to show? These things are not necessarily the same. If you want to, let's say, do a data visualization on educational disadvantage, you might collect data about pupils, about schools, about ages, about socioeconomic background. But in the end, you might only use the data on the pupils and the socioeconomic background. You might not want to show the different schools. You might not want to show the ages. So you might need all the data to analyze it, but when it comes to showing, to getting your message across, you then filter the data as well. And lastly, and very importantly, you need to consider who you're doing the visualization for. What is the interest? If you show me a data visualization on American football, I would kind of, I have no interest in it. So, why are you showing me this? Unless it's really, really well done, in which case I might be interested because it looks really nice. But having an interest in a visualization will draw your audience in. Also consider their literacy level. And by literacy, I don't necessarily mean can they spell and read and write. It's more around, do they understand data? Do they understand data visualizations? You can do a parallelogram, which is quite an advanced data visualization, but most people would not be able to understand what it actually shows them. So depending on who you're talking to, if you're talking to the general public, then simple things like bar charts or line charts or pie charts might be the way to go. But if you're talking to maybe a more scientific community, you might use a chart that is very familiar within that community. So I've put together just a very few brief presentation tips, and you find them on your cheat sheet as well that I've given you through Oksana. First of all, it's around actually showing the data and using color to highlight what is important. Very often what I see is that people use color on everything, but then nothing is important anymore. It's much more interesting and much more useful for the people looking at your visualization if you use the data to actually highlight what is important. So just don't go kind of like, I'm Kandinsky, I'm using lots of colors. Just be very specific about what color you want to use and to what purpose. Equally, kind of people sometimes use textures or they use backgrounds and they kind of put things in bold. Again, that is distracting for the viewer. Keep it simple. The cleaner and simpler your visualization is, the easier it is to understand. It may be less pretty, but pretty is really something that you do at the end. The understanding is the most important bit when it comes to visualization. You want to get your message across. You want to make people understand something. So keep it simple and clean. What is really useful is something called pre-attentive processing. It's something that we just see without having to think. So we can see if something is a different color. We can see if something is a different shape. We don't even need to think about it. It's very, very, very fast. So you can use those to highlight what is important in your visualization. Is this a good value? Is this a bad value? Is this different from what's happening usually? Some things to avoid tend to be 3D charts, unless you actually have 3D data and or if you can actually show it in 3D. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean virtual reality or augmented reality. It could also just mean that you want to maybe have a model that people can turn around and see from different angles. Pie charts are difficult because people either put in too many slices, like in here, and then using the 3D as well. I can't really tell. This one, the orange one, looks much bigger than the red one or the light brown one, but they might actually be the same size. Pie charts are difficult because you do not know the exact value of something. Pie charts are really good if you want to show the relation of something to the whole. So if you want to see how many people voted for Labour and how many people voted for the Tories, then the pie chart is really good. But if you need exact numbers or if you have a lot of slices, then a pie chart is not a good choice. Simple things, making understanding easier, or kind of at least avoiding misleading your people, misleading your audience. Bar charts and column charts, which are the ones at the top, they should always start at 0, because if you don't start them at 0, the difference between the charts gets much higher. And then you kind of emphasize a change within the data, which isn't actually true. So you're misleading people by doing that. That does not apply to line charts or scatter plots, as we'll see later on, but certainly applies for anything where the length of the bar is the defining factor. Also make labels easy to read. Very often you see something like this, where you have a column chart and you have the names at the bottom. Let's say if it's the month of the year, kind of go like this. Okay, it's February, March, April, you kind of get that very quickly. You don't have to go like this all the time. But if it's an exact date or if it's actual words, you'd be spending a lot of time going like, what is that one again? And what is that one again? Use less points. If you use dates, have less dates on the bottom. You can add the date in the tooltip if you have to. So when people hover over something, they will see the date. But don't actually try and kind of force people to constantly get a crick in the neck. It's just not good practice. So using that one, you would just put in, for example, like that. You know, it's much easier to read. People don't have to kind of try and figure out what it is you're trying to tell them. So data visualization always comes down to decisions. It's always about the options that you have, the things that you could do, but then also about the choices that you will make, the things that you will do. Kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. You might have a lot of data, but you decide what is the message you want to get across, who is your audience, so what are the choices that I need to make to get this message to that audience. So that is kind of like what you need to think on that. So just a few kind of recommended reading bits. PolicyVis, that's where the cheat sheet comes from. They do very good resources around data visualization, especially around data visualization with Excel or with JavaScript. They also do stuff on presentation skills. Guardian data and data visualization examples is interesting to look at. Visualizing data, they have a whole book on how to do data visualizations. If you really want to go into it, it will give you a lot of theory. And then WTF visualizations are basically a repository of visualizations that make no sense. So pie charts or exploding pie charts or bar charts that are not bar charts that people have been trying to do to be creative, but they're actually not. They're just confusing people. So before we then go into the Tableau stuff, I really think this is very important. Learning a tool is good, but eventually the tool, like all technology, will change or might become obsolete. So knowing the principle is much more important, because learning a tool is something that you can do anytime, but having the principles once will give you a really good foundations. And I know I haven't really been going too much into the kind of data visualization principles. I do sometimes run kind of like an 8-week evening class on data visualization, and that's kind of like a lot of theory and just a little bit of practice as well, but it's mainly around theory. So it's a lot more that could be done on theory. But I want to get into the practical stuff today, because I think that's what you're here for. But do contact me if you have any further questions on series. So Tableau. Tableau is an interactive data visualization software founded in 2003. So it's now already over 20 years old. So it seems to be growing, and it's certainly very much in vogue still. But in another 20 years, who knows what's happening? It's owned by Salesforce, so it's not cheap to use. The free version that I've given you, the desktop, you can download it down to your desktop, the public version. You can do pretty much everything with it. You can build your visualization, you can save your visualization. The only thing you can't do is publish it, or rather, if you want to publish it, you publish it to the public repository of Tableau, including the data. So if you're doing any visualizations with sensitive data, you cannot publish it. You can still use Tableau, you can save it to your desktop, but when it comes to sharing it, you're going to be hitting a stop. So keep that in mind. If you want to share your data, make sure it's not sensitive, and then you can kind of upload it onto the public repository of Tableau. So
There isn't a university license now.
no, you can get an academic license, but it does depend. Like if you're teaching, certainly no problem. If you're a researcher, yes, but it can be a little bit tricky. You know, you need to remind them, you need to tell them, you need to say, I'm using it for my own research. You can certainly get an educational license for that. So there are certain restrictions. I think they're saying you cannot use it to analyze, let's say, university data. So if you're working in the area of HR, they might say, no, you can't do that. And also for some reason, they're kind of going on about if you're doing anything within the health sector, you cannot do it, but they're not really checking it. So it wasn't time for that. Now, I don't publish my data. What I usually do is I do build the visualization, and then I take a screenshot, because that's usually for reports and papers and stuff. And the analysis I would just share with my team on Zoom or whatever, but it doesn't go anywhere else. It doesn't go public. The public dashboards that I've been involved in, they've been all in JavaScript, which is free. So that's what I tend to do then for anything like else. But I find Tableau really useful to give me ideas to do kind of like a blueprint, and then I can translate it over into JavaScript. Because if I do a mistake with JavaScript, it takes me forever to do something else with it, whereas Tableau is much easier. So when you open Tableau, sorry, yes.
So it can't be printed into theses.
Well, it can be printed in CSV. You can.
So the description can go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In health data, I'm not sure. You need to kind of double check it probably, but usually any other data is fine. And anyway, you can always use the free version, the public version. That's certainly for free, and you can print that.
Perfect. Thanks.
So when you open Tableau, this is what comes up in the middle. If you've done any other visualizations, that's where they will appear as workbooks. Over on the left, that's where you connect to your data source. It can be either a text file, like a CSV file. It can be an Excel file, JSON, PDF, spatial, statistical file. I tend to use mainly just the two top ones, Excel and CSV, because that's mainly what my data is in. You can also connect to you can connect to a server. Again, I have not done it myself, because usually my data is not on a server. Like the data sources that I have, tend to be fairly small. So I tend to just stick with Microsoft and the text file, but you can also connect to a server. And over on the right, they have a lot of really helpful help sections and videos and so on and so forth. So if you ever get stuck, and I mean, I get stuck quite frequently when it comes to something fairly advanced, and I usually just Google it, and then it takes me to the Tableau learning community, to the exact point that I want to do. Let's say I mentioned a parallelogram early on. If I wanted to do that in Tableau, I would definitely Google that, because I nearly never ever use it, so I wouldn't know how to do it off the top of my head. So this is the first screen that would come up. Then once you connect your data, you can see up here at the very top, there's a mammals copy, which is the data set we'll be using later on, and it has two sheets, mammals and taxonomy. Depending on how many sheets you have, sometimes it will put the top one in here, the middle section, but sometimes you just have to drag it over as well. So the first one will always be here. You can also join multiple data sources, and I will show you that, because as you can see here, the mammals' names are all in Latin, and I don't know about you, but I certainly do not know what an Aboriginal Sylvaticus is. So what I've done is I've put together a taxonomy which just matches the Latin name to the common name. And I will show you then later on how you can connect those two sources together. That will allow you to use both sheets within the same visualization. Down at the bottom, you can also, sometimes this comes up automatically, otherwise you can also click on the little arrow. You get an overview of the table. It has all the types of data you have and then the names of the columns. So it's basically a simplified version of this. It wouldn't have the actual data, but it would have the headings and the types of the data. In Tableau, anything that has a calendar mark is a date. ABC is usually a string or categorical data. Anything with a kind of like hashtag is a number. Anything with a map, kind of like a globe, is geographical data. Tableau will take a guess, and usually it's very good at guessing, but it does get it wrong. In this case, and that's one of the reasons why I left it in, east and north would be geographical data, because they are based on geographical locations. So in a way, you would need to change the little hashtag. You would click on the hashtag and you would get a list, and you would change that to geographical. The problem is Tableau does actually not recognize east and north. It recognizes longitude and latitude, but not east and north. So you would have to, if you were to use these, you would have to translate them before you go into Tableau. Now, we're not doing that today because further over this way, there's a county, and it lists all the counties within Ireland, and they are automatically picked up by Tableau. It still gets it wrong, and I'll show you that later because it will see it as, I think it puts it in as county and it should be province for some reason. So you need to change it, but I'll show that to you later. So then once you're happy with how your data is here, you go to your worksheet, sheet number 1. You can change the type of data later on as well, but you can leave it usually here. So you go to your worksheet, this is what it looks like. You have this big empty space where your visualization goes. Over here on the left, you have your data. On the top, you usually have the categorical data. That's all kind of in blue, the dimensions. So that seems like, well, what do you have here? The abundance, county, the site names, the recorder, and so on and so forth. And down at the bottom, the one is a hashtag and also the globes. They are the measures. If you only have one sheet, it's fairly clearly divided, but because I'm using both mammals and taxonomy, I have it a little bit mixed up. You know, we have some of the measures in here, measure in there, and then the main measures down there. It doesn't really matter. It's just so that you know. So basically what it is, anything in blue is categorical data, discrete value, and anything in green is a continuous value. You can change them if you have to, but be careful because that might mess up your whole visualization. Yeah. So then the other thing in here is there's something called a marks card in the middle. That is where you define what color you want to use, what size your individual data points should be. Do you want to use any labels? What is the detail? And do we also want to use tooltips and what should be in the tooltips? Then above it, you have filters. So if you want to filter out your data, and we will be doing that, it's very frequently that you have to do it because very often you end up with data where you have no value and null value. And you most of the time, not always, but most of the time, you just want to filter it out. And it's just the easiest to do it automatically here. And then at the very top, those are called shelves. That is where you put your actual data points for the visualization. And I can never promote it. Now, the version data, irrespective which tool you're working with, they usually have a certain format they want the data in. This is called a wide format. You have kind of the county, then you have the different years, the numbers of the different animals, and then you have the animals down at the right. That's called a wide data. Now, Tableau does not work with that. Tableau would leave the years then to be very separate, and you would not be able to connect them easily. So what you need to do is you need to turn it around. You need to pivot it into what's called a long table. So you have the counting, you have all the years in one column, you have all the numbers in one column, and then all the animals. There's a lot of repetition going down, and it tends to be a really, really, really long table. That's how Tableau sees it. You don't need to sum up anything in advance. Tableau does all of that. But you just need to make sure that you have it in that format. So I don't know if any of you maybe even brought along a piece of data or kind of a data sheet that you want to use today. Then this is what it should look like. If not, you'll be getting into trouble when you're trying to visualize it. There's tools you can use online to do that, or if it's a fairly small data source, you can do it manually in Excel, or you can use kind of other tools like R or whatever to transform it. Tableau also has a data prep, it's called. It's data prep section. I've never used it, so but I presume you can also do it there. Anyway, this is what we're going to do. Why is this not working? This should be a video. I'm not quite sure why it's not working. There we go. So this is what we're going to do. I don't know if any of you is familiar with a guy called Hans Rosling. A couple of years ago, he did an interactive data visualization where he showed life expectancy versus GDP from the 1800s to about 2012. And it's just amazing. If you Google it on YouTube, it's amazing the way he does it. I mean, his narrative is the key, really, but also the visualization is quite stunning to watch. So this is what we're going to do. This is something we're going to work on together. And then afterwards, we're going to do something else, focusing on the mammals that I've just shown you. And I'm going to get you to create visualizations by yourself. You can always kind of talk to your neighbor if you get stuck, but I'm also here and I'll be going around as well if anybody has any questions. So what I want you to do is I want you to open Tableau, connect to a text file because life expectancy is a CSV file. So connect to the life expectancy CSV file. That's going to be interesting. And this is what should come up. And shout if you're stuck. Everybody's there?
Where is the to download the data? Did you get the email with the link to the data?
Ah, okay. Yeah, I should have said that's the data that I sent to Oksana. I think
So, yeah, everyone, haven't got the email about the link. Okay, is sharing a screen or a window?
Yeah, it's really,
Can you just click on the link from the chat?
but that's going to be a really long.
It is, but,
Can you not just send it by email quickly?
But I don't know how to down.
it's, I have to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the life expectancy.
But it doesn't, in its entirety, it doesn't tell you to download it.
Yeah,
Can I copy the link and add it to Tableau? Because if I open it. It goes like this.
So no download option.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Oh, and then again, open that.
Perfect.
Have you made?
So I already opened the one that I was trying to do, so it's okay.
Thank you.
I think
Okay.
it's probably
Just, you can do it out. Again. Again. Yeah, connect to later, you can just connect to later, then you should get it. Then you go to.
Does everyone in the room have the data, or should I send the email with the link again?
And then find it.
Yeah, if you could send the email.
Okay.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The Excel file type is not recognizing the CSV.
No, you need to click on the text file.
Oh, text.
Yeah, text file is the CSV. I know, I should just call it CSV.
Right. Find it from here, so.
And then you have that one.
Thank you.
Go with those one.
I don't actually have an internet connection right now, so that's
Okay.
a problem.
Can you work together with her?
I have some of my own data as well.
Okay.
Just like maybe
Okay, is it Excel or is it CSV?
it's Excel.
Okay,
And it's also very messy.
You want to try disconnecting from your room and reconnecting, because I couldn't connect when I came in first and I did that.
okay, no.
I know it's simple, turn it off and turn it back.
It's
All right, okay,
But I
okay.
haven't sorted out yet.
All right, right.
I get loads of work done, but I've no internet. Connecting it, I've got- So, it's very messy. Yeah, I think. Here. It's not possible. So, do we want to just get it in? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an Excel file, right?
Yeah.
If you go into Tableau and just connect to it and come on. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know, it's just for trying out.
Yes, and it's not going to alter anything the data. the original.
Even on for the data stays.
Yeah.
So if you just want to do that, just to come.
Yeah, great.
Anybody? Okay, I think you need to click on the life expectancy. Yeah. Yeah, just click on that. And then there should be an option for them. Yeah.
It's in the comments.
Got it as well? Yeah, perfect. Now. It tells me here the year is a number. You could leave it like that and try it and chance it, but it would also be much easier just to change. So if you click on the hashtag, you should have a list of options and change that to date. Now it will change it to the first of the first for each year, but that's fine because we just need the year anyway. We don't need the actual date. We just want the year. So it will just change it to the first of the first.
Okay, date.
Hmm?
What's the date?
Yeah, date, because it is a date rather than, if you leave it as a number, it will see it as a measure. But a year is not a measure. A year is a dimension, so that's why you need to change it. So then if you click on your go to worksheet, the bottom left, this is what you should get. So on your left, you have all your data. What you need to do is, and this is as I was saying, is just a practice exam. You need to put your GDP per capita onto the columns shelf, so you can just drag it up. You can also double click it, but then it might go onto the row shelf. It doesn't necessarily go on the one where you want it. Then you put life expectancy onto the row and population onto the marks card here in the middle, onto the size square. All drag and drop. And then this is what you should get.
So like expectancy in size.
Population onto size. Something wrong there. What is this? What is this one there?
Latitude.
Latitude. No, life expectancy. So just take that out again. And
So-
you can just click on the little arrow. And then at bottom says remove, and then put life expectancy there.
Expectancy here.
Yeah.
And
And-
here. And here,
It was population.
population on dimension.
No, population is a measure, so that goes onto the size. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like,
Yes, okay.
sorry.
Okay. Okay. So it still looks a bit weird.
Maybe put it.
It's
Slide
sorry,
before.
that is wrong there.
Can you put, okay, so it's,
It is.
yeah. Okay, wait, so do you can back it up? Okay.
Sorry, just click, do you know what? Just click on the little thingy there was X, because that will just clear it.
Okay.
And that's done again.
So did you-
So it's actually from the measures. So I'm not quite sure whether these are up there. They need to change the,
Tables, it's this, and then measurement width, it's here.
No.
Okay.
you need to, sorry, no, you need to, where it says GDP per capita, click on the little arrow and change convert to nation.
Convert to measures.
Measures, yes, there is a nation.
Ah.
And then you also need to click on it again, little arrow. I don't know what language it is, sorry.
It's Italian, sorry.
Italian, okay. You need to change it to a number. It comes up with a string there. It says ABC. It needs to be a number. So I'm not quite sure what comes.
Number.
Yeah.
Decimal or
Decimals, fine. Doesn't really matter. And you need to do the same as the life expectancy of this one there.
okay.
So that needs to be a measure. And then it also needs to be a number.
Perfect.
And then you can put them back in.
Okay, sorry about this.
No, no worries. That's
So life expectancy
and GDP here, yeah.
and
And then the size, the population of the size. And there you go.
thanks.
Anybody has any problems with this? Yeah. No worries. Okay. First of all, you need to change the year. So click on the little hashtag there. And change it to date. And then you click here on the sheet one. So this is what it looks like at the beginning. All your data there, and this is where your visualization is. What you need to do is you need to drag GDP per capita onto the columns. Yeah, yeah. And you do the same life expectancy to the row. And then you put population onto the size. Yeah. Right? Yes. You need to drag it over onto the side. No, and there you go. Perfect.
So what because you need to have the same life of the right column.
Okay. How we do that?
I'm sorry. Just
So. Okay, we have different data.
oh, I'm going the same
Yeah, but it's not connected, so you need to go back to Tableau.
this.
Mhm. Because this is different data. This is not what we want.
This one.
Next one.
Oh, thanks, Carol.
Yeah.
You're going to expect.
Ah, yes, no, there you go, life expectancy. That's the one. There you go. Now you can go to your worksheet. Yeah.
Okay,
And
well,
what
this one's listed here.
the same computer, you will see population. Yeah. So for those who've done this already, so this is what you should get. In the hand. If you can do those things, continent onto color and country onto detail. So you need to connect to a text file. Text file, yeah, because it's CSV, text file, that's not this. Yes. And then you can just go to your worksheet. Then you want to do your, again, it's GDP onto the column, you need to drag it over. Capital. Columns. Then the life expectancy onto the group life expectancy. Population. To the sun expected. To the sign of the boxes. Yeah. This is how you kind of work the table. You kind of drag and drop everything. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to drag continent onto the color, the marks card, and then drag the country onto detail. Everybody got that? Yes. So then what you should get is something like this, right? Everybody has gotten the part?
Yeah, but it doesn't. So content is in color,
Yeah.
some population is here, and countries here.
I'd be happy to use the data. Is this some?
It changed.
I don't know what concept, I don't think it's trying to Windows as it. If we get on to measure. Some, yeah. That's the same as life expectancy, we change the life expectancy in a second, but. So, yeah, I don't know, it should be the same.
Got it? Can you please repeat what we are doing now for online participants?
We are basically,
Closer to the microphone.
closer to the microphone.
You want to say please?
Okay, so what we're doing at the moment is we're trying to build this visualization that I showed at the beginning. So it's really a step-by-step dragging and dropping the respective measures and dimensions onto the shelves and the marks card. And this is what you should have gotten to. Okay. Now there's a few things we can do to make it look slightly more different. First of all, on the marks card, I want you to click on the automatic, where it says automatic on the little arrow there at the top, and change it to a circle. So I want those circles to be filled. Then, as I mentioned earlier, very often you have data that contains nulls, like no data. You can just click on here where it says 28 nulls. The pop-up will appear and which will allow you to filter, automatically filter them out. But just do that. You don't always want to do it because sometimes your null values actually mean something and then you need to do it differently. But for now, just to have it a bit cleaner, just filter them out. And what will happen is they will appear up there where the filters are automatic. And the next thing I want you to do is, which you have done to some extent already, if you look at the life expectancy, I mean, no one is going to be living to 5,500 years. So what Tableau does is it automatically adds up the life expectancy. You don't want the sum, you want the average. What you need to do is on the top there where it says sum life expectancy, click on the little arrow, go down to sum and change it from sum to average. And then this is what it should look like. Everybody got this? Yeah.
Did you get multiple colors again? Did you try that?
Yeah, putting the continent onto the colors on the marker. Just dragging it over continent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Please do shout. I mean, this is a complete beginning lesson, so it took me forever to sort things out. So.
Yeah, change this.
Can you go back to sum for a second there? If it was, click the back on there. There you have the one. Okay. On this online existence. It's very strong. That's one I haven't managed. Undo. To be honest, that's a very strange thing that happens. Does anybody else has it that when you change from the sum to the average, that all the data points drop to the bottom? Yeah, I'm not sure.
No worries.
You can,
I got it.
can you try maybe the median, try one of the other options rather than the average and see if yourself work. I mean, this is just practice then. So
Yeah.
it might just. Yeah, oh no, sorry.
No.
Now, the other thing that I want to do, because these dots are really, really small.
Sorry, just, there is a question.
Yeah.
From the chat, how to make circles in the graph build?
If you click on the marks card, you have something where it says automatic. I'll just go back there for a second. You see it there on the left where it says automatic. You click on the little arrow and change that to circle, and that should fill the circle.
And there is another question.
Yeah.
Life expectancy was in CNT format, wasn't even summed, so I couldn't turn it to average.
Yes, because that's a count. Could you double check that your life expectancy is actually a number? Is a hashtag beside it, if that person could check that, rather than an ABC, because if it sees it as a dimension, it will count it, but you obviously cannot sum up, I don't know, cars, you can count them, but you don't sum them up as such.
Okay, they say yes, it has a hashtag.
Is it in green?
The number.
I am not sure. I would need to see it. If that person doesn't mind, maybe just if you get on and then later on I might have a chance and have a look at their screen. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, not the filter, because the average will just change this. What you need to do is you click on the 28 node, that will be, and then filter data automatically. You don't need it, but that will show up in the picture. Okay, no worries. So what I want you to do now is I want you to change, well, remember we had the animation at the beginning? And animation in Tableau is done with pages. So if you drag and drop the years onto the pages on the very top. And then you should get something like this showing up on the right. So you have the years. Now you can click through the years by just clicking on the little arrow here. You can cycle through them automatically by using these buttons on at the bottom. And this will kind of adjust the speed. You can do it either very slow with 1 bar or very fast with 3 bars. And that will kind of automatically cycle through it. Now the data that we have is actually from 1950. But because we used to filter out the nulls, because for some reason the years before 1990 doesn't actually have and don't have any data, so they are filtered out. So it starts in 1990. So if you click on this arrow, it should go through the different years from 1990 to 2021. 21. Does it work?
I'm not seeing that side panel that you have.
Okay. And this is the next thing that I want you to do. I want you to see we can change the size. So you need to just click on the size. You don't need to drag anything. Click on size and then just move the slider. Just click on the show me there. And then put them going into the pages. And then show me. Yeah, no worries. I know
I
I'm
actually
sorry.
used a different Excel sheet then, but
I'm so far behind, I can't even see how to get to the date.
Yeah, if you click on the sheet 1. That was very there's this risk on that. No worries. No worries. And this is where you get all your data. And you can play around putting your data where you want it. Right. Double click the country state, it should come up with a map, unless it doesn't have mine.
Well, I'm not online here, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, no worries. And for those of you at the top right, you also see show me. That can be very useful if you have data and you're not quite sure, should I do a bar chart or a line chart or whatever it is. You get different options and it will automatically then adjust your data with that. Now we're not doing this for this one because I want to stick with the scatter plot. What I want you to do is I want you to change the size. You just click on size and move slider over a little bit, not too much, because otherwise you end up with massive one. And then you should have one that looks more like this. Everybody okay so far? It's a video again. This is what you should have.
Fast on the speed.
You know where you have three little arrows down there? You can't click on that one and then you should have passed it. So you click now on.
I think I should. It works. It's a work on that.
Now then, now we go into the real stuff because now I'm going to give you data and I'm going to ask you to build visualizations. But I'm not going to show you how to do that. I'm obviously here and I'm going to help you, but and I can then also have a look at that person about the life expectancy or what was it? One of those, yes. Yeah. So just one word before we go into that, because you have a number of different options. You can either go under file on Tableau and say open new, but don't do that now. Just can do it, but it will open up a new Tableau, which can be useful if you want to keep them separate. Sometimes it's not. As you can see here, for example, I've used two data sources on amphibians and mammals, and I've put them all onto the same workbook in case I want to link them. So that's why I left them there. Because you can also click on this database icon there with the plus sign, and that will allow you to open a new data source into the same workbook. Or you can close whatever you've done now and then open again and start from the beginning. So that is up to you, whichever way you want to do it. If you just want to open a new version of Tableau, if you want to close the current one and open a new Tableau, or if you want to connect a new data source, that is up to you. This is what we're going to hopefully end up with, or something similar. This is a dashboard, a very simple, plain, nothing fancy dashboard. It's quite nice because it's nice enough because you can they're all linked. So if I decide on a specific animal up there on the drop down, all the visualizations will change to just reflect that one animal. We might get there, we might not get there. We'll see. So these are the main steps to be done. First of all, you need to build 4 different visualizations. The first one is the map showing the abundance of the different animals. And you want to put in a filter for the type of animals onto that map as well, which you get from taxonomy, and I'll show you how to do that. Then you want to do a column chart showing the number of sightings per year, a bar chart showing the type of sightings, and another column chart showing the seasons. For the last one, you will need a formula, and I just put that in there so that you get used to the idea that you can create formulas in Tableau just as you do in Excel. There's, I don't know how many, but there's loads of different formulas. The easiest ones are the ones where you just say sum, blah, 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 whatever it is. If you want to build a percentage, you sum something up and divide it, and then you have percentage. That formula is slightly different, but I've given you the actual text for that. And if you have time, we will also create a dashboard. So, first of all, I want you now to connect to the data source mammal copy, which I think is also on the GitHub. And that's an Excel file, so it's not a CSV file. You need to do it as so there's 2 sheets there. One which is a mammal one, and the other one is taxonomy. I don't have screenshots for that. Mammals copy. So you need to drag over. You need to drag over the mammals sheet onto the big area there. And then what you want to do is you also want to drag over taxonomy, which is underneath it. And then you will get an alert and will say you need to link those. Yeah. And in the alert on the left, where you have the mammals, you click on the arrow, you scroll down to taxon name. You need to track these over both mammals and taxonomy. You need to track them over.
How long?
So you need to change them down here. You need to, on mammals, you select taxonomy. Yeah, and you do the same on there as well. And then there's connections, and then you can go through the sheet. You've got the mammals, you need to bring over the taxonomies. Yeah, anywhere, doesn't matter. And then you need to change it down here. You need to select the field. The name, you just need to scroll down. Should be taxonomy, and you do the same on the taxonomy. That's fine, but you let me know. So basically, if you have two data sources or two sheets that you want to link, you need to use the same. Not necessarily the same name, but how you want to link them. So it could be by county. In this case, it's the animal, the natural name, or the actual image name. So you want to connect them with that way. Yeah, please. Okay, if you can click on your on the one list. You need to connect to the Excel. Find the models. Now you have knowledge packs and you have linked. Yeah, no. Yeah, actually, no, yes, you need to bring more, sorry, just that one driving more over. Yeah, see, you do the same. Yeah, as well. Then you need to. Just saying taxonomy, you just click on the arrow, select taxonomy. On both. But one is taxonomy, down with taxonomy copy. Yeah, you're not linking. No, that arrow isn't actually. Since I can see that. Yeah, and then we go to the sheet and start. Thank you very much. Yeah. The taxonomy of the thing doesn't. If you just click on the exclamation mark and then click on invert anywhere, and then you can change it again. Taxonomy. You want the equal the next one. Yeah, and then so on. Good book. Taxonomy, yeah, and then that's fine. Okay. We remove the relationship. No, that's fine. Okay, and then you go to the first sheet and then you can start. You need to click a new sheet, sorry, a new one for number it. And then you can start putting in the abundance because that's county this part. Yeah. We'll have the money. So you need to open a new sheet. You should go on and click on your the sheet one and remove it. Yeah, that's perfect. And then you can start putting together abundance you need, and you need your county. Now, you will notice if you drag, or if you double click county and abundance, you probably get some sort of map. But it doesn't show because you need to change the county. Tableau does not recognize them as the counties with an island. So if you click on your county, on your dimension, on the little arrow, you should have the option where it says change geographical something, I don't remember what it's called.
Role. Geographical role.
Yeah, geographical role, and you need to change it to region.
State region.
Yeah, state or region. And then
Nobody. Area or.
see, so it should be this the region. It should be that one. And you click on your show, yeah. Click on the map beside it. Okay, let me, yeah,
Can I ask you to, for people who are online, to just repeat how to link taxonomy and mammals, just in the microphone?
yes. No, that's fine. When you, actually what I'll do is I'll just go out of the presentation and go into my own folder of Tableau. And then I'll show you, that might be the easiest. Escape. That's not where I want to go. I want to go. No, this is done with amphibians, but it's the same idea. Basically, you pull over your two data sheets. So that's mammals and taxonomy. Then you need to edit the relationship. You should have a box down at the bottom left where you can change here on the little arrow. You can change, you need to change them both to taxon name. So the one is taxon name and the other one is taxon name copy. You just need to define which fields you want to use for the linkage. And if this one doesn't come up, click either on the alert, like the little exclamation mark that you might see, and then click into the box, and then that edit relationship will come up, or you can click on the link if you have a link between those two sheets. And then you need to go to a new sheet. Now I have the amphibians, I don't want the mammals. So as I was saying, for abundance, you need the county, and the county, you need to change the geographical role to state. It is state province. You probably need to change it to county. I always get confused. No, that's not the one that I want. County, change county, geographical role to state province. And there we go with Ireland, and I want this color. And you should get something like this. You should get a map of Ireland all in the same color. So the geographical role that you need to change the county to is state province, second last option on the drop down. So you click on the little arrow beside the county, go to geographical role, and then change it to state province. And you can click on the show me button on the top right to change it from this little kind of dotted thing to actual filled color.
Question online, how to connect two sheets
Yeah.
together?
So what you have is you have your mammals. So you pull your mammals over into this big area, and you do the same with taxonomy. You would probably get an alert saying that you need to link them, or you just get an exclamation mark, kind of like a red exclamation mark, which you can click and then click into the box. And then when you do that, you should have a box at the bottom left where you have to define how those two data sources link. And these two are linked by the taxon name. So under mammals, you need to click the little arrow on the left and scroll down through what you have here until you find the taxon name, or you can just type it in if you want to, whichever is easiest. And you need to do the same under taxonomy. You need to change here. There you only have two options, taxon name and the common name. And you need to have them both under taxon name, and then you get your taxonomy. So, does everybody else has gotten to this? Everybody else has a? It still doesn't look for some reason.
Yeah,
And it's definitely on the.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure either.
Because it's all like you said.
Yeah. Not sure why that's not working. Might just be blue. What is the problem here, Alan?
Can't actually see what you have in the different fields up there to make sure that we're in it right.
Yeah, you need to move this one, the abundance. Then you just have the one. The abundance you need to put onto the color on the map.
Okay, so what should I have dropped?
Nothing. When you double clicked on the county, Tableau
Okay.
automatically generates the latitude and the longitude, and that was good.
That's what I know what it's asking there. It doesn't make Northern Ireland.
No, yeah, I know, because that's a different jurisdiction. Just let me check why you're getting this thing about this. Abundance should be a number. Abundance should be a number. It probably shows up, and you find it very often when you work with data. It shows up as a string, because this is based on citizens' data. People might not put in the number one, but they might actually spell it out. CONE. And then obviously Tableau sees it as a string. You need to change that to a number. And then you need to put abundance onto the color. So both the ones online, if you didn't hear that, because this is based on citizen data, oh, well, not necessarily because of that, it happens very frequently if you're dealing with data that the data isn't clean. So here people might have put into the abundance field, they might have put in the actual number as it would be written. So instead of putting the number 1, they might have put 0NE, no, ONE, and that's why Tableau defines it as a string. You need to change that to a number. So you need to click on the little hashtag beside it, change it to a dimension, and change it to a string, change it to a number. Oh God, I'm getting confused. Change it to a measure and a number, I'm sorry. And then you pull abundance just underneath your measures, and you pull that onto color. And it will automatically show the county with the highest numbers of sightings, the darkest. Yeah, she's having the same problem, and I'm not quite sure why. Have you changed, if you click on your county on your data pane and change the geographic rules? Yeah, she has the same problem. I'm not quite sure why that is happening. I think it's a blue problem as well as you have with your so if you wouldn't mind just watching it. Yeah. It might be worth Googling why that's not working. I don't know. So then putting abundance onto color. Oh, yeah. I'd say the count. Abundance. You need to change them to a number. You need to change that to a number, and then you also need to change it to a measure. That's a way to measure. And get rid of that one. And then you just put the abundance over. Yeah. Just some of these people are with some issues. What do you think I would do?
Let us know whether you have any problem. We do it. We go to county. Geography. What is the information in the government? I'm just in the region. Communication.
And you want to have different colors and you want to be really, then you just need to.
Did you check
Only a slightly different colors. Yeah, I know. So it's my colors. Yeah, probably about in the dimensions, dimensionally in measure. In here, so get rid of it from there. Then on your later, change it back to the measure. And then again change to normal. And then you can bring it. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you do have to switch it on. Yeah, you always do the next one.
No, I can't, I was doing it by count, but I'm lost on the map, on Freeway. I can't.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The county, you probably need to change. No, you just need to make sure that the geographic region matches. And then.
Yeah. I've got some data wrong because it doesn't pop up as an option, so I must have missed out or something.
If you just clear, you could just click that on there. They just double click on the county.
Oh, wow, okay.
It just takes a while, and then you can change it.
Now you can go in and try and play with colors.
And then change it to the color and the dots, and then you can do it. It should really. On to the. Once you have it that way, if you want to add a filter for the different animals, you need to go.
I'm sorry, Heike, can you please walk through the whole process for people online again? A couple of people are having the same problem that we had here with the no colors.
Yeah, I'll try again. Now that there does seem to be a problem on some laptops where Tableau does not recognize the geographical reference, and I'm really sorry, I'm not quite sure why that is happening. What you need to do is I'll just open up a new sheet. First of all, you need to click on your county under your dimensions on the mammals. You need to go to the geographic role and you need to make sure that it's set to state province.
So something like because
Yeah.
that work, I
MUXC.
Okay, then you,
Any word.
okay, for those where you could also try the nuts Europe. That might also work. This is basically Tableau not being able to recognize the longitude, latitude otherwise. So try either the state province or the nuts Europe, and one of those should work. Then double click on the county, and you should end up with a map looking like this, where you have a dot for each county with an island. By clicking on the little show me at the top right, you can change it to a filled map like this. And then what you need to do is you need to make sure that on your data pane again, the abundance needs to be, first of all, a measure. So you might have to go in and say convert to measure. Now, in my case, it says dimension because it is already a measure. So you need to convert to a measure. And you also need to change the data type to a number. And you can go for the whole number because you cannot have half an animal. And then you pull your abundance onto the color. And you should get something similar to this. Then what you can do is you can scroll down to your taxonomy and pull the common name onto the filter. I have it there already. And I want to use all, that's okay. But I want to show, if you click on the filter and just say show filter, and you have it here on the right. We worry about kind of turning it into a drop down later on, or you can go down here if you wanted to and just say you want multiple values drop down. So then you have it like this. At the moment it says all, you can click and I want to look at those badges and it will change the map. And you will just see the sightings of badges within the different years.
Just do that last filter.
Yeah, I will indeed. So in order to filter, I'll just take this off. You need to go to your taxonomy unless you want to filter by the Latin name, but I'm more familiar with the common name. So you drag your common name onto the filters. I don't want to select anything there. Click OK. It won't show anything because I haven't selected anything, so don't worry about that. Click on the common name in the filters and say show filters. You will get them all on the right. Click all for a start. If you want to, you can click on the little arrow on the top right and say you want a multiple values drop down, because then it doesn't take up that much space. And I just generally prefer drop downs because I find them slightly easier. And then you can unclick them all and pick the Irish hare or whichever you want to see. Now, some you might only get a few counties. You see the hazel dormouse apparently is only in Dublin. So then you only get Dublin. You can also select 2 or 3 at the same time, but you don't see the differentiation between them. So I click all for the moment. Okay. Now, what you see then as well, if you hover over the county, it will give you the name of the county, and it will also give you how many animals were seen. What you can do if you wanted to change that, you can click here on the marks card on the tooltip, and you can change this to whatever you want. The things that are highlighted, so these ones here, are the actual data pieces, so you wouldn't want to change those, but you can change the stuff in front of it. So I could say here, number of animals seen, let's say, rather than abundance. And I get rid of that space, just put in a little space, and then I click OK. And now when I hover over it, it will say number of animals seen, and it will give me the number. So that's how you can change your tooltip as well. If you want a different color, You can also click on your color. Click edit colors. You can go click on the palette, and then you get a lot of different possible palettes that you can use. These are for measures, so that's why the palettes look like this. You can change it to anything you like, blue, teal, whatever. You can also click on this one and then use whatever way you want to change your color. You can also upload your own colors if you have brand colors, for example, that you want to use. But that's a bit more complicated, so I'm not going to do that now. And you can do it this way as well. So whichever way you want, I'll go for that one. And then click OK. And then you get the color, whichever color you want to use. Has everybody gotten this far?
But it's only showing in Dublin for some reason. It is not showing in the whole Ireland.
It might be, first of all, I will click on the muster and click on the filled map. That will give you the actual county being filled. And then click on the muster again, so it goes away. Click to start all of them.
Show them. Where do you think you can?
Can you go the color of the country? I don't think that one makes a big difference. Just try it. Can you put county and onto the field? It shows all the counties, so you have to show everything. Okay. 230. No, it's making it not. Still doesn't show the rest. Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Maybe it has to do with what when I change when I put the stage region word.
No, you see, if it doesn't work, then that makes sense. Okay, the problem for anybody who's been using nuts, the problem might be that it doesn't actually recognize the different counties with the specific nuts references. It only it recognizes County Dublin, so that's the only one that will come up. So if at all possible, use state province. But if you don't see anything, then yeah, use the other one. How are we doing for time? Okay. Anybody else gotten stuck on this? Can you try a question?
Thank you.
No worries. It is difficult, especially if you've never used it before. You have the same with the county. Yes, I think that's because it doesn't recognize the other NOTS references for the other counties. That's what the problem is. I presume if you're going to if you click on county geographical role and change it to province, nothing comes up, right? Yeah, nothing comes up, then it doesn't yet. I don't know where the problem is. It's something and to get something. Can you click on the show me? Okay. Well, this you get keep getting 1 minute. How about you?
I don't get anything, but maybe because I don't do anything from the map.
Oh, okay, but the county, did you change the geographical role?
Oh, really?
Sorry. This one doesn't work for you.
No.
So then you probably will have to say that. Yes, and you left it up and you could try the next graph. That might be an easy one.
Yeah, there is a question online. Someone had the same problem. And they're saying that
Only Dublin.
but when they change from nuts, Dublin didn't show.
Yeah.
And then they don't have any color at all.
Yeah, because if nothing shows, then nothing's recognized, and then the whole color. You can recognize it,
Can you just explain it in the mic?
I will, yes.
Sorry, I will.
So that is one of the problems that you will encounter when you work with Tableau, like any other standardized software. Certain things it will not recognize. There's usually workarounds, but you need to Google for them because they're very specific and you might have to create an extra field to actually do those. So those of you who only see Dublin, when you click on the nuts, it probably means that from the nuts references, it only recognizes Dublin. And if you click to state province, then if it doesn't recognize the counties as states or provinces, then you won't see anything. It will be just either blank or you just see a globe, but you won't see Ireland as such. So that is a problem. There could be a workaround in terms of going into maps, but I don't really want to do that right now. What I would like you to do is I would like you to start on the second sheet. I'll just let me get it up here. So do something like this, as you can see here. I mean, you can even see the various data pieces I've used. Ignore some of them, ignore anything that has kind of like the wedding rings on it, because that's later on when you're building a dashboard, which you don't need now. So all I want you to do now is to create something like this. And I won't tell you how. And yeah, I hope it will last for another half an hour because I didn't bring a power cord. Oh, it usually works for all day.
The type C.
I don't know what the type C charger is.
Yeah, yeah, it said you were back, it should be type C.
Sorry, I didn't bring it now.
This one.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. So to build this chart, you will need the year on the columns and then the sum of the abundance again onto the rows. And what you will notice is the earlier years probably don't have much sightings. So I pulled year onto the filter and filtered it out to just start from 2016 on. Mike? And I know it's, and I apologize for those online. It's really hard to try and follow a demonstration of a practical session. But yeah. Everybody gotten this?
I can only make it horizontal, I can't make it vertical.
Okay. Simple thing you can do. If you see this little icon there, click on
This one?
Yeah. And then change it, swap it around. There is a little icon at the very top. I'll show it to you here. If you click on this icon, this one there, which is kind of like, it will basically swap the rows and columns. So I could do it this way and I can do it that way. You can also manually change them up here, but it's just as easy just to click that one little icon.
Where is the year?
The year is on the columns, and then I put it into the filters.
So where is it in the left?
It should be. Where's my year? I can't see it now myself. I'll go over here, it's a bit easier. Where do I have my year? Read reference habitat. Year, date. You need to pull the date over, and then you should be able to click on the thing and then just go to year. So what you need is the data piece called date, and then you change it to just show the year. And there's two options. One is just the option of showing the year, and the other one will give you the actual date. So go for the top one. Everybody got that? Again, if you want, you can change the color, the same as I showed you before. By clicking on color, and then you just, because you only have this one data point, you can just do it by here. Whichever color you want, you can also click more colors, whichever way you want to do it. Anybody, any problems? The next one is pretty much the same type of sightings. Again, I've used a filter because the image capture, I think, and the other types, and then nothing else has anything. You can quite easily sort your data by clicking on this one. This is sorting it descending and sorting ascending. So ascending is from the lowest to the highest, and descending is from the highest to the lowest. You can sort your data as well. And then just, again, filter out. The other way you can filter, let's say if you just have one row, let's say I just wanted to get rid of track and scat. If I click on it, it will give me the option to either keep that one only or to actually exclude it, and it will then automatically go onto the filter card. So that is another option how you can filter as well. Yeah.
In the column?
The years are not in order, like they're not in 2016, 17, 18. Is that what is meant? Can you just check on the very top where you have your year on the columns shelf? Is it set to the year for a start? And if it is, then you can also go to sort and say data source order ascending. That should do it because the data is 2016, 17, 18, and so on. It should sort it. You can, if you have to, sort it manually. And if you click on the manual, what you get is you get the different dates, and you can move each one whichever way you want to do. I'm not going to do that because mine is sorted. Okay. So then type of sightings. This is actually probably how it looked like at the beginning when you do all your sightings for the different animals as well, but here we don't want the different animals though. Now, one thing that I want to show you, we don't need to do it now because I also want to briefly show you how you then put it together into a dashboard. If you need to calculate data for anything, then you need to create a calculated field. And the way you do it on Tableau, you go under Analysis, create a calculated field. This is what it will look like. You can give it whatever name you want to. And then you have all the different options that you can do. And you would put that in here. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the one that I used to do. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a calculated field. That's the wrong one. Sorry. Create a calculated field, call it season, and this is what you need to put in. Basically, what I've done is I've used a formula that lets me identify each month and lets me group those into the different seasons. So if it's a month 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th, so I've went by the Irish calendar, February, March, April, that's spring, and so on and so forth. That way you get a calculated field which will show up on your left somewhere. There it is, under measure names, calculation 1. You can call it whatever you want. Calculation 1, it should be seasons actually. Where's my seasons gone? There we go, seasons, because it's not a number, obviously. We're turning dates into pieces of string in a way. It's not really that important, but if you wanted to do the seasons one, that is when you need it. I put the seasons onto the color so that you can differentiate between the seasons. And again, I added the color, so the winter colors like autumn and winter are kind of bluish, and then spring and summer are kind of orange to kind of differentiate between them easier. Yeah.
Show where you enter that formula again.
How or how it put it? Where? It's under analysis, and there you have the option of creating a calculated field. And that's how you create a new formula. And again, as I was saying earlier, if you ever need a formula for something specific, just Google it, because that's also how I found my case once. Now, when it comes to dashboards, down at the very bottom, you have these 3 icons. The first one is just for a new sheet to do a data visualization. The next one is for a dashboard where you can combine different data visualizations. And the last one will allow you to put together a storyboard. So your storyboard can contain visualizations and dashboards. So it's kind of like a step up. If you wanted to tell a story and you have a number of things that you want to combine, that's when you use a storyboard. For now, we're just going to do a dashboard. So if you click on that one, it looks quite similar to your new worksheet. So on your left, over here, you have all your pieces of visualizations that you have done. So the map, if it has worked, the sightings by time, the season, and the type of sightings. And then down below, you have different elements that you can use. Over here, where it says size, you can also identify which size you want it to be. You can either go for a fixed size, and there's different options that you can use, or you can specify the size yourself by using width and height. There's different ways of building a dashboard. The easiest is usually just to double click and it will automatically go onto your dashboard. There is a difference though, down here at the bottom. The default is set to tiled. That means that Tableau will space the visualizations in such a way that it will take up all the space. So if I were to put another visualization beside it, it will automatically split it into half. This is kind of useful to some extent, but you can also do it differently. You can use containers. So let's say I wanted to use a vertical container first, and then I put my seasons. Now this time I would drag it over, and I want it down into the container. And I want, let's say, a horizontal container go on top. You can just about see it as a gray area on the very top. And I will have another container there on the top where I can then put in my abundance. And actually, I go for another container because I'm going very fast now, but I'm just aware that we're running out of time. And there I will put in my time and my type of sightings underneath. Now you have it in a tiled way, and you can kind of move the containers a little bit. This one, I don't really want there on the top. You can always, when you click on any of these visualizations, there's always a little arrow at the bottom. If you click the little arrow, you can change it to floating. Floating means you can move it anywhere you like. It's no longer as a tile that is fixed. So I can drag this little handle there and move it down to my seasons because that's where I want it. That's where it's important. I don't need this one there either. So I just click the X and it will go away. So this is how you build dashboards. And I kind of think we probably need another session to do more on the dashboard, because there's so much more you can do in terms of how you link them up and stuff like that, which we really don't have time, I don't think. And I am sorry, and I do apologize again to those online.